It's sleek. It's black. It's beautiful. It's new big wheel Cobra Psycho from Mars.
So there's been a handful of crazy little all-electric three-wheeled things that we've covered and sort of been into. There's Aptera, which, yeah, it's pretty rad, especially if you got yourself some sort of sci-fi Jetsons fetish. And then there's Vanderhall. First with the Edison, then with the Santa Rosa. Yep, these are both all-electric three-wheeled little baskets of Electron hot sauce, but boy, are they different. And I'm glad that they're different. Seriously, today, more so than any other time in history, there's just all sorts of bizarre and niche vehicles being created. And I love that. Today we've got yet another all-electric three-wheeled little gremlin to take a look at, and believe it or not, it's a completely different kind of trike. And while the Aptera and the Vanderhalls are side-by-side two-seaters, this thing's gonna have you playing Maverick and Goose with this F-16 style cockpit layout. So all the way up there from Ann Arbor, Michigan, the company's called Nimbus, and this is the Nimbus 1. What's up, Motorheads, and welcome back to Gearbox Pizza. Look, I know, it's been a while. Not exactly crushing it with new and exciting content lately, but that's only because, well, sort of been on the run. I mean, lesson learned though, guys, just don't borrow money from a fellow with an adjective for a first name and like no real last name. Alright, so without even starting, I'm sure most of you are either loving or hating this thing, and I get it. This is most definitely not for everybody, but personally, I'm sort of loving it. Look, alright, what exactly is it? And to get the obvious out of the way, it's all electric, it's a three-wheeled autocycle with two wheels up front and one in the back, so as with Aptera and Vanderhall, the fact that it's a three-wheeler instead of a four, well, it's kind of a big deal legally. You see, technically, the thing's classified as a motorcycle, but you won't need a motorcycle license to drive one of these, unless you happen to live in Massachusetts. Random. Anyway, so because it's technically a motorcycle, it's not subject to the same strict safety standards that regular cars are, and that's, well, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. And although I think a lot of people look at something like this and right off the bat, yep, you compare it to a car, or more specifically an SUV. And yeah, there's just no way in the world it's anywhere as safe as a regular car. I mean, physics is physics, right? But to me, it's more accurate to compare this to a regular motorcycle. And head to head, I say this would be quite a bit safer. But safety being important and all, it's just not that much fun, so I think we'll leave it alone for now. Okay, so get to the good stuff, right? Yeah, look, you're looking for some specs, and specs we have, so check it. All pretty good news here across the board, but why don't we start with the price? Well, look, before we do that, I should probably let you know that there's going to be two versions of this thing. There's the regular Nimbus 1, and then there's going to be a more powerful and faster version called the Nimbus 1S. Anyhow, you'll be able to pick up a standard Nimbus 1 for just under 10 grand, $9,980 US to be specific, which feels like a pretty solid deal if you ask me. As of right now, they don't plan on offering traditional financing, but it sounds like they're working with some partners to be able to do just that. But if you'd prefer not to buy one, they're offering to rent you one for $200 a month. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, but it really sounds like a no down payment, no term style lease. In other words, yeah, you just rent it for as long as you want to. And then there's the fast one, the Nimbus 1S. And as you'd expect, there's going to be a bit of a premium here for the pricing for this little hot rod, coming in at $13,700. All right, cool. But is it worth it? Well, to answer that, we're going to have to take a look at the rest of the specs, so why don't we do just that? Okay, so top speed. The standard version, well, the Nimbus 1 tops out at don't even think about taking this on the freeway 50 miles an hour. And yeah, like it's plenty good for the city, but that's kind of about it. The Nimbus 1S, however, well, this fella should be able to keep up with the top speed of 75 miles an hour, although I'm still not sure I'd want to take this on the 405, for example, but I don't know. Then again, I've taken my motorcycle on the 405 like plenty of times, but I am not all that bright anyway. And then there's acceleration, and nothing really too crazy to report here, but as you can imagine, you can't have 0 to 60 times when half your lineup can't hit 60 miles an hour. So Nimbus is giving us 0 to 30 numbers. 3 seconds to 30 for the slow one, and 2.8 seconds to 30 for the quick one. And I was kind of expecting the S to be a bit quicker, but it's probably not the point here really, right? So far so good in the specs department, I'd say, but here's the big one, range. And pretty good news here, I think, with the standard version topping out with 93 miles of range and the S topping out at 128 miles of range. I mean, not exactly competing with the Lucid Air, but again, this thing's right at home in the city. And with that sort of range, I'd expect you to be able to go, days without charging. Now, speaking of charging, things are a little bit different here. You see, the standard Nimbus one comes with a portable and swappable 9 kilowatt hour battery, which I love. If range is actually an issue or a concern for you, you can buy an extra battery or even two. And you can charge them wherever. I mean, no need to find an outlet, an extension cord. Nope, just pop the battery out, bring it with you. Boom, full charge. Love that. Now, the Nimbus 1 S, on the other hand, while it has a larger battery at 12 kilowatt hours, it's fixed and you can't swap it out or bring it with you. And now I think we're starting to have a difficult decision on our hands. So, do you go for the cheaper and slower one that has a mega convenient way to not only recharge, but being able to easily double or triple your range? Or do you go for the fast one with more range, even though charging might just be a little bit tougher? Oh, and I suppose charge times are sort of important here too. So, well, Nimbus claims that a 0 to 95% charge can be had from any household outlet in about 5.5 hours, meaning you're going to get about 18 miles of range for every charge hour. So spec-wise, I think that's most the important stuff, but there's a few other tidbits worth sharing. So it's pretty light, tips the scales at about 725 pounds, it's 91 inches long and 34 inches wide, meaning that you're going to be able to lane split pretty well, assuming that's legal where you live. It does have a front airbag, which is great, and ABS, so cool there. And there's apparently a camera system with an AI that's going to offer some additional safety feature with over-the-air updates, much like our boy Elon's little car company. Oh, and not to bury the lead or anything, but this thing leans pretty aggressively while cornering, which I'm sure you noticed right away, and I'm sort of wondering why I've waited this long to even bring it up, whatever. So look, it does this automatically, so no need to even worry about this, guys. So there's already been several little EVs on the streets in Europe for a while, and it's a segment that's been largely ignored here in the States. And look, maybe it's for good reason, but personally, I think there's going to be a market for things like this. And think of city driving or city deliveries. I mean, couldn't you see these things being used to scoot around town, dropping off your stupidly expensive Postmates order? I mean, burger, fries, $56 later, you're kind of wondering how it came to this, wiping that cold grease off your man beard, embarrassed that you've dropped a significant amount of cash on something you could have done yourself. Never mind. Anyway, bottom line, I just kind of dig it. I mean, the price is great and parked anywhere. It looks to be just kind of a lot of fun for the money. Again, think of it more as like a much safer motorcycle. And deliveries here in the States should start in Q3 of this year for the standard version and Q1 of 2024 for the S, with deliveries planned in Europe following closely behind. And again, just sort of love the direction mobility is headed. What a time to be alive, gang.